supporting you. Let yourself really relax through your arms and your legs. Up into your shoulders and your hips. And just feel your breath coming in, feeling the belly rise a little bit as you inhale. You're welcome to put your hands on your belly if that feels good, or let your arms be anywhere that feels good. Knees bent or legs straight. To come towards those 3-part breaths. Let yourself inhale into your belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. Now let's let our feet come onto the floor if we haven't already. Our knees bent, our feet on the floor here now. And just let the knees come a little bit side to side, just easing your way from one side to the other. One top of one hip to the other. And then come on back into center with the knees. And let's cross our right ankle above our left knee, that figure 4. And if you can, draw your left foot off the floor and bring your left hand onto your right foot. So you press the ball of your right foot into your hand as you flex through both feet, right? So you feel very engaged in your hips. And as you press that foot gently into your hand, you feel that right hip really feeling quite a bit of engagement there. And you can extend your left leg up a little bit if you want to. You can just move a little bit, letting extend it, and then let it come back down if you choose to. So when you extend that left leg long, it kind of takes it out of the hip, but then you also wake up the back of your left leg a little more. And then bend the knee again if you haven't already. Let yourself stay there one more breath. And then we'll lower the left foot down to the floor, and we're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest now. So you can hold behind your thigh, or you can hold right there below your knee on your shin. Extend your left leg long on the floor now. Press your right leg into your hands so you just feel that nice sense of the low back coming into a natural curve there. Flex through both your feet a little bit. And then use your right hand to draw the right knee to your right, towards your right shoulder a little bit. You're just drawing it up into a little outward hip rotation. Stay grounded in your left side. And then we'll come on back to center with the knee. Let your left hand come across to that right knee. And now come on across the midline of the body as far as you want to go towards a twist. So you can bring the knee like a couple of inches over, or you can release the right hip off the floor and go over as far as you want. If you want to turn your head to look to the right to add a little bit there in the upper back and your neck, you can. Whatever feels good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back into center with that knee. Take a breath here. Just let yourself center out. And then put the right foot on down to the floor. We'll bring our left leg in and cross the left ankle above the right knee. So again, flex through that left foot at first. Just feel your hip. Drawing, if you can, the right leg in towards you and putting your right hand on your left foot. Both feet are flexing. Press the ball of that left foot into your hand so you're engaged there. And now again, you can stay like that, or you can extend your right leg up a little bit. You can move it up and down if you want to. You can stay bent with the knee if that's better for you. So just enjoy letting yourself find a release in your hip and Take your time, one more breath there. And then bend the knee again if it's not already. We'll replace the right foot onto the floor. And let's bring the left knee in towards our chest and extend that right leg down long on the floor now, flexing through both feet. Let yourself take your time. Keep the left hand now on your left knee and draw the knee over to the left and towards, kind of up towards your armpit really. Stay grounded in that right side. And let yourself enjoy finding that outward hip rotation. And we'll come on back through center, and the right hand's going to come over to the left knee. Stretch your left arm out beside you. Again, how far across you go towards this twist, totally up to you. And if you like to let your head just gently release to look to the left, do. Nice. And then we'll come on back into center with that knee. Good. And from here, let's go ahead and bring both feet onto the floor. Release your arms down beside you. See if you can do a couple of little pelvic tilts. And that might mean enough for you, just to do a couple of little pelvic tilts, easily scooping the tailbone up when you exhale. But some of you might even want to roll up your back a little bit. To me, kind of letting myself come through a little rolling, not high bridges, but just letting the spine release one vertebra at a time. Some people, that is not good. So if that doesn't work for you, don't do it. You can stay in the pelvic tilts, or if you'd rather just press up into a bridge pose without rolling through your spine, do. Good. So finish off whatever you did decide to do, whether it's rolling or up in a bridge, and come on back down onto your back on the floor here now. Bring your arms overhead, clasp your hands, turn your palms away from the top of your head and press into the heels of your hands here now. And then just extend one leg at a time down long, so it's like you're stretching like you do when you're in bed and you wake up in the morning. Let yourself stretch through your whole body. And just a little bit now, lean a little to your left and press up into the heel of your right hand a little bit more, so you get a little more on the right side. And then go to the other side, so you press up a little more into the heel of your left hand. So your back comes off the floor, right? And just take your time, come back into center. Let your arms then just relax, release your hands, and bring your knees back up so your feet are on the floor. And let the knees come side to side. And we're about to come up to sitting, so how you do that is up to you. I know rolling to your side and up is better for some of us. Some of you I know like to rock onto your back and then roll up to sitting. So how you come up, totally up to you in your back, right? Whether you want to roll through your spine or roll over onto your side. And then once you're seated, go ahead and sit cross-legged, whichever leg in front feels the most comfortable for you. Sit up nice and tall. Bring your hands a little behind you. And let the chest come a little bit forward here, just really opening through the front body. So you're very aware of your back body because we were on the floor. Open up through the front body a little bit. And now we're going to flex our feet as we come on forward into a seated forward bend, whether you want to stay up high, letting your hands support you here. Perhaps you feel really good to keep on going forward over your legs. Don't push it. Just be really mindful. Take your time. Let your head hang if you can, as long as it doesn't bother your back. And release and breathe. One more breath. And then we're going to rise ourselves back up. And we are going to switch the cross of our legs, so bring your other leg in front. And let yourself, again, get comfortable. If you need to sit up on blankets, let yourself sit higher. As you come forward, again, use your hands to support you. Maybe you only want to go a couple inches forward, right? Maybe you want to stretch your legs out instead of being cross-legged, too. You don't have to have your legs crossed. And take your time. Be really easy as you feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. more breath here. And then we'll make our way all the way on back up. And now let's just stretch our legs on out in front of us and bring our hands behind us again and open through the front body again, now with long legs. Feel your heels on the ground and kind of draw them back towards you a little bit. Draw your chest forward, your shoulders back, and be really mindful of your neck. You know, looking forward is fine. Looking up a little bit if you want to. And then we're going to rise on back up and shake everything out a little bit. We'll come around towards our hands and knees. And if you don't want to be on your knees, grab a blanket to cushion your knees if you need to, right? The other thing is your hands. So rather than being on flat hands, if your wrists bother you, come on to fists if you feel better to do that. And then once you get there, kind of take your time, wag your tail a little bit. Let your upper body respond when you wag your tail around however it wants to go. And then come on back in now to being right there, hands underneath the shoulders, whether they're fists or flat, knees underneath your hips. Take a nice inhale. And on your exhale, come on up into your cat pose. Now stay in cat for a breath or two. Obviously, they're shallow breaths. Your navel's drawing towards your spine, your tailbone is dropping down. You really feel that openness between the shoulder blades on your back. And on your next inhale, send your tailbone back and up and go ahead and let the belly melt down, the ribs, the heart melts down. You can look forward a little bit or you can look forward more in your cow pose. That's up to you. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and draw the tailbone up under you and come on back into cat pose. And move through now with your own breath, whatever tempo you want to go. So if you like staying in cat or cow for a couple of breaths without moving, do it. If you like to continuously flow through, waking up the spine here now, feeling that sense of really that natural movement through your spine. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. Let's come to more neutral spine again. And let's come down onto our left forearm, so the forearm's about parallel to the front edge of our mat, and reach your right arm out overhead, lower your forehead down, and really spread your fingers. Think about your hands right here. Spread your fingers nice and wide and press gently into your hands. Let your heart melt down, let yourself open up there and the upper back into this little quarter down dog. And then we'll bring our right hand back. We're going to press ourselves on up. And we're going to switch to right forearm on the floor. Left arm overhead, letting your head come on down to rest on your arm. Now spread your fingers. Press gently a little into your hands. Really feel that shoulder, of course, but also as your heart melts down, that openness there between the shoulder blades on your back. And then we'll bring the left hand back. Let's come on back up. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. So if you like your blocks, you can have your blocks under your hands as you bring your left foot forward and rise your back knee up. And come on into that first lunge. And you know, you can be any height on these blocks. Remember, there's three heights. There's the lowest, there's the middle, there's the highest. And you can have your hands to the floor, of course, if you want. So take your time. Just look back at your back heel for a second. Lift your hips up enough to really see that back heel so that you can tell it's not coming inward, it's going directly behind your foot. And then go ahead and come on back fully into your lunge, bringing your gaze more towards the front of your mat. Good. And we're going to switch legs. Whether you like to step forward or back, that's totally up to you. You can step backwards, you can step forward. Get those feet aligned there. Again, if you need to look back at that back foot, do so that you can really get aligned with that heel directly behind. And then come on into feeling the feet now, pressing gently away from each other on your mat, like you're trying to lengthen your mat. Your belly engages. Really feel your hips and your low back. Good. We are going to switch legs again. So however you want to do that again, bringing that left foot forward. And this time, once you get really into the pose where you feel good, you can kind of feel your whole body in the pose, really feel your spine. Don't just think about your legs and your hips, but feel the length of your back. Let's let's straighten the front leg out and let that right heel just descend straight back behind your foot. So it's not a pyramid. You're not hiking the heel inward, you're letting it go directly back in there. A little more in the backs of the legs. Extend your torso out over that front leg. Nice. And then we're going to bend that front knee, come back into lunge again. And we're going to switch legs. So again, switching how you choose. Remember, just be mindful of that front knee, that it's no farther forward than your ankle. Take your time, press your feet away from each other. Start to feel that length through the back body. Head in line with your spine. Nice. We're going to straighten the front leg out. And again, let yourself just enjoy coming into the backs of the legs there. Peek at your front right foot. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside of it, right? You really want to feel your big toe mound, your little toe mound into the floor, so you're not rolling to the outer edge of the foot. Good. And then we're going to bend the front knee. Come on back into lunge again. And let's step forward. Come on into your standing forward bend. So feet are hips distance apart and parallel. Be mindful, you know, if you want to walk a little bit, let yourself walk, whether you lift a heel and bend a knee, or, you know, you may even want to pick a foot up and kind of shake it out a little bit. Just acclimate yourself so it feels pretty good to get then evenly based between your feet. Knees a little soft. Keep your back long if you need. You can put your elbows above your knees if you need to. You can let your hands stay on your blocks. You can, obviously, if you're comfortable, to fold over your legs and release, hands towards the floor, or hold your own elbows, you can. But again, just be easy for your own back. Just let the pose do it all for you. Just watch your breath in and out. Backs of the legs are naturally going to just open up. You're not forcing anything. And then that weight of your head helps more space come into your spine, really. It's almost like you're tractioning your own self, right? One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet as we rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose. So if you need to look at your feet, if you need to shift around a little bit, do it. Or if you need to adjust anything, right? So that you do, when you come back to feeling very balanced between your feet, I mean, you can sway a little bit too, front to back, side to side, if that helps you figure out how you get right into that middle place, right? That place where you're balanced between your feet, both side to side and front to back. And let your knees bend just a little bit. Press your feet into the floor like you're pushing the ground away from you. And then let your thighs just gently start to lift up. So we don't want to lock our knees, right? We do want to feel that engagement of the legs lifting upward. And then once you get your pelvis aligned where your tailbone is reaching down, it's really easy to come into that alignment. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And then as you look forward, whether your eyes are open or closed, I love to keep my eyes closed. But if you're dizzy at all, or if you know it's much better for you to keep your eyes open, do. Feel the space around you. Let yourself just enjoy that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. And then we'll release our arms right on down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. Now as you exhale, let your arms be like wings as you fold forward from your hips, coming into standing forward bend. Good. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. Whether you put your hands on your shins or your blocks or the floor in front of your toes, it doesn't matter, but a nice flat back. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. So nice inhale here. And on the exhale, we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. Now down dog, remember, you want to really be mindful of your own shoulders. You can use blocks under your hands if you need to. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Bend both your knees right now. See if you can reach as far back as you can with both your sitting bones. And imagine you're equal in the sides of your body. And then go ahead and walk your dog a little bit. Let one leg come long while one is bent, and then you switch when you want. Try to let it be slow and really feel good in the back of your leg that's long there. Good. And then we'll come on back to our full down dog. We're going to come out towards plank. Now, how you do this is up to you. You can, if you need to come to your forearms, do it. If you need to put your knees down and do a half plank, right? So that you feel really good, strong in the arms, into your shoulders, and really in your core, reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels. Now to lower down to the floor, I'm going to put my knees down. You don't have to. You can go through a full push-up, elbows right by the knees. Elbows right by the ribs. And then come on into your Sphinx pose, bringing your forearms to the floor. That would be good, getting your elbows to your knees.
Really nice.
Yeah, I've been really long arms. So take your time, bring your gaze between your hands, just so you feel a little openness. Instead of looking forward, and tensing the back of your neck and your throat, let there feel like there's length. And just enjoy. And remember, if this is too much, slide your elbows down towards your waist so you're not up so high. Now from here, see if you can just bend your left knee, but don't bring it in towards your buttocks. Let the foot be like it's putting a footprint on the ceiling. Feel how your belly has to engage a little deeper. And then lower that foot down, and we'll go to the left. So flex the foot, pretend you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. And then lower that foot on back down. And we're going to come on back down to the mat, hands by the chest, and come back to down dog, whether you come up through a half push-up or a full push-up, or maybe you just want to go back to your hands and knees and back to down dog. Once you're in dog, do what feels good. If you need to wiggle around a little bit, do. Just be aware of your hands. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Hug those elbows towards each other. And we will bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you need to put your left knee down to get that right foot forward, put your left knee down and then bring the right foot through. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend, completing our first sun salutation here. So be mindful. You need to keep your back long. Use whatever support you need. If you like to hold your elbows and release, or put your hands to the backs of your legs, just let that sense of really releasing through your face start to happen, right? So really letting go. Imagine the muscles of the face just totally releasing. And especially like around your mouth. It's, our jaw. Often a lot of tension there without realizing it. So you can kind of let your teeth separate a little bit. Feel that sense of softness in your jaw. And let your breaths come in and go out as evenly as you can, not forcing it, but just imagine that your inhales and exhales are equally important. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet as we rise up, and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms, bring our hands behind us and clasp them. Let yourself send your hands down. Don't lock your elbows, but let the arms come pretty long there. And then for a second, just bring your gaze forward. Enjoy that openness across your chest. Let your head tilt to the right so that you let your right ear come towards your right shoulder a little bit. And then come back up to the top and go the other way. And then come back up to the top, and let's bring our chin down towards our chest. Let yourself release there. Look down towards your toes. And then we'll inhale and bring our gaze back forward. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward. Now you can stay parallel to the floor with your knees bent and a flat back. If you feel like you want to keep going forward and more over your legs, do it. And of course, if your arms will come away from your back, you're more than welcome to do that. If your shoulders agree with you doing that, not always a good feeling. So take it easy. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. You can have your hands down lower towards you. Keep your feet pressing into the mat. Imagine you're trying to make the mat wider with your feet. So you're really feeling this all the way up into your hips. One more breath. And then release your arms all the way on down towards blocks or the floor, and inhale into that long, long back. And we're going to step left foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Again, your down dog is your down dog, where you are comfortable in your shoulders. So if you can glance at your hands, you're so far back, pressed back out of your hands, you almost don't have wrist creases anymore, right? You don't want to have yourself forward where you see those creases deeper. You want to kind of almost let them disappear. You're reaching so far back. And then think about your spine, how long it is here in your dog. Next inhaler is going to bring us out to plank. Now just for fun, see if you can lift your right foot off the floor, do a little three-legged plank there. And then put the foot back down and see if you can lift your left foot up off the floor. And then put that one back down. Stay here for a second. Bend your elbows a little bit. Imagine you're holding a beach ball between them. So it's a lot of work in the biceps and the shoulders and the arms. Come on back into straighter arms, and we're going to now lower down to the mat. So if you want to put your knees down first, do. Elbows are right by the ribs. And let's come into a little cobra. Just barely lift up your chest, your head. Float your hands up too. And in fact, do a little loose fist with your hands so you kind of release from all that dog that you had going on in your hands, that spreading wide. One more breath there. You're still really using your back, obviously. Go ahead and put your hands back down. And if you want to go up higher into Cobra, you can. You can press into your hands and rise up, or you can stay low, letting the hands give you just a little support down lower. If you're higher, hug your elbows in towards your ribs, and let your gaze be easy. I mean, I like to look a little forward, but try not to look up like that. That is the thing that starts to get to next, right? We're going to release and come on back down to the floor, and we're going to come back to down dog however you want to get there. Hands and knees, full or half push-up. Let yourself walk your dog when you get there. Turn your head to look side to side too. So you release a little bit that way. Good, and then we'll come on back to full dog. And this time we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And we're going to come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel, remember. Now if you like to slip your fingers or your hands under your toes or your feet, you can. I mean, I like to even massage my toes a little bit. So if you want to give your toes a little love, you can. You can let yourself, if you want to slip your hands, palms up underneath your feet, because that feels good in your wrists, and also, you know, it adds to the stretch for the backs of the legs. Or of course, don't do that. If it's too much, you just let yourself stay where you can. And now watch the breath coming in and going out, feeling the ribs really expand as you inhale. Think about the rib cage expanding in all directions when you breathe in. Feel the weight of your head. And from here, we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and come on up to standing. Inhaling our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. From here, unfold your arms into a T position right out beside you. Let's bring the right arm on top of the left. Give yourself a hug. At first lift your shoulders up, and you know, that doesn't feel so good. Let them release really down. I mean, you can even kind of use this top hand, right hand, to massage a little bit if you're feeling like really tight right here. That's often a place we all get, because right there between the shoulder blade and the spine, right, there's a spot back there where you could just use a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball on that at home, right? And then if you want to come in towards a full eagle wrap, you can send the backs of your hands towards each other. You can go ahead and put your left palm on, fingers on your right palm if you want to. That's up to you. Don't do it if it feels like it's creating tension instead of releasing it. So feel again, the shoulders are softened down, the elbows are just lifting a little bit. And then we're gonna let the elbows come down, unfold our arms on down, float them back into that T position again. And we're gonna bring the left arm on top of the right. So again, if you feel like, oh, I really would like to use these fingers to kind of find a little bit of release right back here. You know, sometimes it's more at the top of our shoulders, sometimes it's more back between the shoulder blade and the spine. And then release and see if you can let your shoulders release down before you head towards your eagle wrap if you choose to do that. Sending the backs of the hands towards each other. If you want to send your right fingers to your left palm, do. Turning the thumbs towards the midline is that last little twist. So let it feel really good. One more breath. And then let your elbows come down, let your hands come down. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. Really feel the space around you. As you exhale, fold forward into standing forward bend. We're going to move with the breath. Let your inhale help you find a long back. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. And your exhale lower you however you want down. And inhale into your cobra of choice, how high. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top with your breath. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward again. Inhale into that long back. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Inhale your way out to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising to the top with the breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands. You can jump or walk your way. Find your down dog however you want to find it. Take your time. Spread your fingers wide. If you want to wag your tail around a little bit, do. And actually just settle in then to your dog. Feel those elbows hugging in. Think about your head being in line with your spine. So, try to get this sense of not letting yourself lift your chin to tighten the back of your neck. Feel what's happening there. Remember how we just did a massage between the shoulder blades and the back? Try to feel that part of your upper back. Kind of melt down your heart a little towards the ground so it opens a little more. Good. From here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. And we're coming up for Warrior 2. You might want your blocks handy. Okay. So lining up our heels and getting that back foot, right foot about parallel to the back edge. Left foot about parallel to the long edge. Take your time, bend that front knee. Let your left hand just stay on your thigh. Turn your fingers kind of in towards your inner thigh. And rise your right arm up, straight up overhead. But then see if you can just bow just your head and look down towards your knee there. So check out the alignment of that left knee. Remember, you want to be able to see your toes, right? You want to have it over the center of your foot. So if you feel like, I want to bend a little deeper, you might want to inch your toes a little farther forward. Or you might go, hey, I just need to stay a little less deep with the bend of my knee. From here, we're going to come into Warrior 2 arms by lowering that back arm down and rising the left arm up, reaching out through the fingertips, softening the shoulders down, feeling the feet in the floor here. Let yourself enjoy reaching out through the fingertips, energy all the way out through the hands, remember. And we're going to turn the left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Take a nice full breath into the left side of your body. And on the exhale, come into side angle where you put your hand or your forearm onto your thigh. Swing your right arm on up into line with that right side of the body. Now for a second, just turn to look a little bit towards the ceiling, just a little. And then from here, we're coming back to Warrior 2. Press those feet away from each other. Let yourself rise back. We're going to do that again. Turn the left palm up. Inhale, reach up towards the sky. And on your exhale, come on into your side angle again. So setting yourself, swinging the right arm up into line, sending the right pinky a little more downward so you draw that shoulder away from your ear. Good. Now bend your right elbow. See if you can put your hand behind your head. And just feel the head gently being supported. You're pushing the head just gently into your hand. So, you feel that sense of, okay, am I hanging my head? You can really tell when you put your hand there if you're keeping your head in line with your spine. And then extend your arm out long again. Let yourself reach way long. We're going to come back to Warrior 2 again, pressing those feet away from each other. And now we're going to lower our hands down and we're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So you can bend your knees, you can grab your blocks. You know that if you'd rather have blocks, if you'd rather use the floor. And once you get your hands grounded, go ahead and bend a knee at a time. So you might decide you want to adjust how far apart your feet are. So take your time, let it feel good. Let yourself find those inner thighs, really finding a good release. Good. And then come on back to where you're even here now and you feel pretty good about the width of your stance, and bend your knees both. Let your elbows come to rest above your knees and reach straight back through your tailbone. So you're in a squat, your back is long. You can let your hands clasp, or you could, I like touching my tips of my fingers and thumbs together. Just be mindful there, let it feel really good. Nice. And then we're going to come on down and walk towards the right. Now you can shift your block and just go a little towards the right or to the front of your right toes, or you can go all the way over and hold on to the outside of your right ankle if you choose. Stay for a breath. And then we'll come on back through center. We're going to go the other side. So again, once you move over to that side and decide where you want to stay, just let yourself be with your breath. Good. And then we'll come on back into center. And we're going to set up to stay here and really be able to focus on our breath without feeling stressed in our upper body. So that might mean you want to use blocks under your forearms to get out of your hands, or you might want to stack blocks up so you're up higher. It really totally depends on you, how you find that place where you can stay and be with your breath. Let your head hang, release here into that, really the upper body letting go. And then being able to just easily receive your breaths all the way in and all the way out. See if you can let yourself count when you breathe in. You don't have to do this the whole time, but at least a couple of times, and try to reach that same count when you breathe out. So you can tell that your inhales and exhales are fairly even. One more breath. And we are going to slowly from here walk ourselves back over to our left foot to come on back into lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose from here. So when you get to your dog, walk to the tops of one foot at a time. Like go over the tips of your toes and press down into the top of your feet. And you can take your time to do that a couple or three times on each side so it feels really good. Because, you know, after warriors, feet really need to get stretched out at the top. And then let's meet back in down dog. And let's come on out to that plank again. Find your plank. Now, once you're in plank and you feel really good in plank, keep your feet and your hands where they are. And then reach back into your down dog again. Hug your elbows towards each other. Let's do that again. Inhale your way out to plank. And then exhale your way back into dog. Okay, now this time if you want to add a back bend, coming into an up dog from that plank. But you don't have to. So come into the plank and then moving through with your chest and letting your hips come down. And then coming back into down dog. So if you like those Kriyas, you can do a couple more of them. You can come to plank through right to up dog, or if you guys who like to do vinyasas, you can come through and move through your push up to go down to the floor and then up to your up dog, right? So this is your own time to do what you want. You pick. And if you don't want to do any of those, don't do them. Put your knees down and rest. Forget it. Don't push through anything. And then we're going to meet back in down dog. So finish off the one you're on if you can. We're going to get ourselves situated in dog. And then we're going to bring our right foot forward and we're going to come up for warrior two on this other side. So again, take your time, line up that back foot, line up your heels too, and then bending that front knee and letting your right hand come onto your thigh, turn your fingers in towards your inner thigh. At first, look forward and bring your left arm up, right? So you feel like it's almost like a Spanish dancer, right? You got the arms hand right over your shoulder. And then just bow your head a little bit. But now check out that knee, right? So for me, I'm like, what would happen if I bend a little deeper? Or maybe I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, all right? You can adjust a little bit your stance. And now all we're going to do is come on into warrior two arms, letting ourselves rise that right arm forward and the left arm back, looking out over the top of that right hand. Feel your feet in the floor. Enjoy feeling that sense of balance between your feet up into your legs and your hips. And let's lower our left arm down, turn our right palm up, and inhale, reach up into that reverse warrior. Breathe into the right side. And on your exhale, come into your side angle. So forearm down, swinging that left arm up, press into that forearm, let yourself feel that length through both sides of your body. One more breath. And now let your left arm be what carries you back to warrior two, reaching back up into your warrior two again. And we're going to turn the right palm up again and inhale, reach up into that reverse warrior, breathing into the right ribs. And on your exhale, come into that side angle again. So this time as you swing that arm on up, press into the forearm. See if you can turn to look just a little towards the ceiling here. And now still looking there, bend your elbow and put your hand behind your head. Now see, when your head is turned this way, it feels even better to have the hand holding it up, doesn't it? So just let yourself stay there for a breath. And then extend the arm back long again for your extended side angle. And we're going to come on back to warrior two from there. Pressing the feet away from each other gets us right back into that core strength. And we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet parallel again. And we're going to ease our way forward. Grab your blocks if you need them. But once you get your hands down, turn your toes out a little bit. All right? So let your feet turn out like you're in goddess. And then bend a knee at a time there. And as you start to do that, if you feel like you want to go deeper in these, do it. In other words, you can shift to your left, bend your left knee, pick your right foot up to just the heel. That increases the stretch, right? Or you can go to the left, pick your right foot up, and then descend down with your hips and use your hands to support you. But don't do that if it's too much. So if it feels good, you can do those deep shifts and letting your hips come down. If not, don't do it. Just take your time and let yourself have fun with it, with the legs turned out, finding that outward hip rotation. And then we're going to make our way back into center. And once you get your hands grounded, turn your toes back forward again. And set yourself up again to stay with your breath. So, some of you may decide, wow, it would feel good to put my head on a block. Or you might want to hold your ankles or send your hands behind you or between your feet, of course. Your hands between your feet is fine. But just let yourself feel the breath now. And see if you can focus so much on the breath that you can easily find those little spaces between your breaths. So you inhale, you feel this little pause, and then you exhale, and you feel a little pause, and then you inhale. So it's not like you're holding your breath, but if you can imagine that you're almost relaxing deeper in those little spaces between your breaths. Nice full breath. And then we're going to let ourselves come on back. We're going to walk back to our right foot to come into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. You're on your own here. If you want to do more of those vinyasas or kriyas, you can. You can do them on your own time. You can put your knees down and come into child's pose. If you'd rather open your hips, you can, lift a leg at a time, play with that. Really just let your body do what it needs. It's Friday. Just, let it do what feels good. Practice what feels the best for you. Good. So if you're doing two sides, finish off. We're going to meet back in down dog again. And then from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming into lunge, and you might want your blocks under your hands. That really depends on you. And then from the lunge, we'll add a little twist. We're going to keep our right hand grounded, bring our left hand on up to our hip and up to your low back, checking to make sure you're not dropping into that right side, right? And then you can stretch your arm up if you choose to. You don't need to. If that feels good, you can keep your hand down if that's better. Just enjoy that. Feel that length out through the top of your head, back through your inner heel. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. From here, we're going to lower the back knee down. If you need a blanket underneath your knee, put a blanket underneath your knee, all right? Shift forward just a little bit. Now, you can stay right here, just keeping your hands down, pressing into the top of your toes so you really feel engaged up here into the front of the hip there. Or you can lift up. If you want to bring your hands up to your thigh, you can bring your hands up to your thighs. If you want to bring them to your hands up to your heart or arms overhead, you can. Totally up to you. Don't do any of it if you don't want to. Let yourself stay forward if you need. Good. And then we'll bring our hands back down. Now, you might want to use your blocks to help you shift your hips back and straighten that left leg out. Now, you don't have to go into a deep bend on this back knee, right? You can have your hip right over your knee and then kind of extend your torso out over that front leg. Or you can shift your hips back a little bit if that feels really good to get into that hamstring. We're all different, it's really dependent on that knee that you're on. So, yeah, be careful. Be mindful of that. And from there, one more breath. And then we're going to shift forward. We're coming back to lunge to lift that back knee on up. Good. And then all we're going to do is switch our legs in our lunge, okay? So find that lunge. Again, all we're going to do is add that little twist, bringing our right hand up, rolling our shoulder up, finding that sense of being level in the hips. And of course, if you like to add the arm up, do. Reaching into that length as you reach into that inner left heel and out through the crown of your head. Beautiful. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down. Now again, if you want a blanket underneath your knee, you can put a blanket and you can just stay right here with your hands down, pressing into the top of the toes a little bit where you really feel that engagement in the front of your hip. This rising up thing, totally up to you. And if it feels like too much, whether in the knee or in your hips, there in the front of your hips, don't do it. You can bring hands to your heart, you can bring your hands onto your thigh and leave them, or you can bring your arms overhead if you choose. But just be really mindful, take your time. Good, and then we'll come on back down with our hands if they were up. Now remember, we're getting ready to shift back, straightening out that front leg and coming, it's like the midline of the body comes over the inside of that leg. And just be really mindful of engaging by the right heel, pulling back towards your sitting bone. So it's almost like you're pushing on a gas pedal in a car with that right foot, with the ball of the foot, right? So you're very much engaged in your hamstring as you're stretching it. Good. So one more breath there. And then we're going to come on back forward to find lunge. Lift our knee up again. Come on into lunge. And let's do one final downward facing dog pose here. So if you are so inclined to do a little side plank work, you can. You can come out to plank. You can put your left knee down. Use it foot like a kickstand and shift to your right hand so that you're on the inside of that right foot back there. Maybe even stretching your right arm up. Or you can do a full one. If you'd rather not put your knee down, don't. And then we can just switch and go to the other side. So again, if you're putting the knee down, as the knee goes down, the foot goes back a little bit like it's a kickstand of a bike, and then it's really easy. But of course, if you try to lift that back foot up, you're really engaging in your shoulders and your core. If you're doing the full one, more power to you. Nice, and then we'll come on back down. Let's come back to plank, a full plank. Walk your plank a little bit, bend one knee at a time, let yourself walk a little bit. Good. And then we'll reach back into downward facing dog pose. If you want to do any more vinyasas or kriyas, now's the time to do them. You can come out to plank and move into the back bend if you choose. You don't have to. Totally up to you. Put your knees down and rest if you'd rather. Good. And we will meet back in down dog. Good. And from here, separate your feet a little wider on your mat. Bend your knees, walk your hands on back, and you kind of decide what kind of squat you might want to do. You might want to put your elbows above your knees. Squat just like that. You might want to turn your toes out a little bit and your heels in a little bit. Shift down into a squat where your hands come to be in front of you, or maybe none of those feel good, right? Find what feels good for you. Let yourself release your low back and your hips where you're good to be. You know, and you can widen your feet as much as you want. Your feet can be more turned out. You know, some people, the heels don't go down. I can't be parallel with my feet and get my heels down, but yeah, we're all built differently. Just let it feel good. Okay, we're going to come up from here with our hips and get our feet right underneath us so that we can come into standing forward bend. Release now. Let your knees soften a little bit. Let yourself really feel that release in the upper body. One more nice full deep breath, feeling the ribs expand as you breathe in. And as we let our hands then come up to our hips, we'll press into our feet and rise up to standing. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down to be in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose. So, you know, if you sway a little bit, oftentimes after that, when the energy's flowing like that through the body, it's almost like it keeps wanting to move a little bit or sway side to side or front to back. Just let your body adjust its way. Again, finding that quietness in your mountain pose. Feeling so balanced. It's like you could stay here all day long. We're going to unfold our arms right on down beside us now. Shake out, move around a little bit. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. And we're going to turn them sideways so that your short edge of your mat is into a wall. So we got lots of wall space today. We're going to use it. We're going to do my favorite way to do half moon. Sherman, will you have room on that wall to do half moon?
I like the things that are in my way.
You would?
I use the things that are in my way.
Okay, good. Oh, and Julie gets the pole. Okay, so let's come into getting a block in our right hand. And then you'll have to adjust in the space you're in, all right? But we're going to really do the whole back against the wall half moon. Where we come down with our right hand on a block, we're standing on that right foot parallel to the wall. How far your foot's out, that's up to you. Just so your buttocks can, you know, release into the wall there. And then that back foot, remember, is flexed foot turned down slightly. You're not trying to turn your toe up towards the ceiling or even forward. It's down just a little bit, which is the natural rotation, really, not over-rotating. And then roll yourself, maybe to stretch that left arm up the wall, if it feels good. If not, don't do it. And let the wall help you. Let yourself release. I mean, you may even want to turn to look up towards the ceiling, which is really hard to do when you're doing this as a balance pose, right? Or maybe you're like, oh, my neck, I want to look down at my hand because that feels really good. Now, some of you might want to really lean into the wall and bring your bottom hand off that block. Now, that's a lot more work. Just saying, but you can try it if you want, right? If it becomes too much, come down. You know, don't overdo. It's huge in the hips, and it's also a spine extender. Yeah, when you're ready, let yourself release down. Good. And when you do come down, we're going to turn to the other side, which should actually feel like an immediate relief. So once you get set up on the other side, and you let yourself just easily now feel that left buttocks into the wall, and let the right toes face down a little bit. Get that hand just in the right place on the block. That helps too, right? You don't want it way out in front of you. You want it underneath your shoulder. And then you can stretch that top arm up and let yourself just enjoy, maybe looking up. Just letting that sense of just enjoy feeling the length of your spine, right? Obviously, you're going to feel this in your legs and your hips. If you need to look down because your neck wants to do that, do it. Again, too, if you like to play with lifting that bottom hand off the block, letting the wall support you, you can do that. It's a lot harder than having the hand on the block. Nice. And when you've had entirely enough of that, let yourself come on down and release. And now get both blocks. And we'll do it one more time. Now you can decide if you want to balance fully without the wall at your foot, or maybe you're like, well, I don't really feel like balancing today, so I want to bring my right foot to the wall so that I can bring my right hand to my hip, but use the wall still in a different way, pressing the foot into the wall. Now, if you don't want to be at the wall, you want to be forward, rise the right leg up and come into your half moon, balancing, do it, right? If you want to use the wall, do that. So that it's your choice, choosing today which feels good. Nice, you all. Good alignment. Be careful, Julie. Those knees are probably saying, what are you doing?
No, you're fake, so.
Well, that's what I mean.
Can't say that anymore.
When you're ready to switch sides, do. Well, the problem is, though, when you haven't been doing yoga, you've been busy and active, but it's different what the muscles you're using. So the muscles around those fake knees are telling you, are saying, be easy. So take your time. There's a lot of core in this pose. Good. And when you're ready to be done, you be done. And squat how you want to release. If you want to go back to the wall and squat, do. If you want to sit like the wall, or even if you want to go back to the wall and do the kind of squat where you can be supported like this, which is much more intense in your calves too. But you don't have to squat like all the way at all. Just do like Susie's doing a chair at the wall, or you can come elbows above your knees. So do what feels really good to you to release your back and your hips. Yeah. And from here, we're going to let ourselves come down onto our bellies on the floor. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's do this first. Bring your tips of your toes back to the wall. And then shift back. You don't have to go all the way into child's pose, but you can with your arms overhead. And then we'll come out to all fours, and we'll come into down dog with our heels up the wall just for a little bit. And you can play here however you want, right? You can stay here, hug your elbows towards each other. If you want, you can lift one foot up the wall. Some of you might even want to walk your hands backwards so that you do like a split towards a split. Of course, maybe not a full split, but up the wall. Yeah, and you don't need to do those unless you want to. You don't even have to lift a leg up. You know that? And you can come down and rest anytime you want. You can switch if you're doing one leg up. You can switch anytime you want. when you walk back with your hands, if you have that one leg up, it's really huge in your hamstring. So don't do it if it's too much. That split up the wall. Totally optional. Just take your time. Remember to keep pressing back equally out of your hands. Let yourself just enjoy. And if you want to come like Susie is on her forearms, if you feel like I want to get out of my wrists, I'm done, you can play a little bit with being in your forearm into either dolphin or towards a forearm stand, or you can walk your feet up too with with your forearms on the ground. Let yourself play there. So just a little bit of whatever feels good for you, a little inversion, and resting whenever you need to. And whether you rest in child's pose or if you need to sit with your head above your heart after you've been upside down like that, then you can find a way to let yourself release with your head up above your heart. Good. And we are going to come around towards sitting now. So make your way on around. It's so good to see you, my dear.
Oh, it's nice to be here. I'll see you Monday, or Tuesday.
When are you going?
Going Friday.
Oh, okay, yes, good, perfect, I'll see you before. So stretch your legs out in front of you and just take your time, kind of give your legs a little love. You can, if you want, you can take like the heels of your hands from way up here in your outer hips, right where your legs come up, right? And just press in and down towards just above your knees. And you can keep kind of traveling up the thighs a little bit from there to where, up to where you get all the way onto the tops of your thighs, just a little bit at a time. And you might even feel like, oh, I want to massage around my kneecaps and kind of let them move around a little bit. So just enjoy, do some little flip-flop your feet a little bit. And then come far enough away from the wall that if you were to fall backwards, you're not going to bang your head in the wall. And let's hold behind our thighs and walk our feet back to where we're just on the balls of our feet and our heels are lifted up. And lean back a little bit. And that is a boat pose right there. You don't have to go any further. So if you want to, you can let your legs come up, flex your feet, press the outer edges of your big toe mounds together. And if you're feeling like pretty unsteady, put your feet back down. If you want to let go of your legs, you can let go of your legs. If you want to put your hands on the outside of your legs and help yourself stretch your legs up by pressing your legs into your hands, you can do that, right? So be mindful. If it's something that hurts your back, don't do it. Stay with your feet on the floor. Let yourself just feel like you're pulling your thighs, your rib cage in towards your thighs. Good. So one more breath there. Now, if you want to do this one, hold on behind your thighs for a second. And then if you don't have to do this one, but if you want to come down into a half boat using your belly here, you can let yourself stay up with your upper body and let the legs come lower. So you're really using your belly, but if it hurts your back, don't do it. And then when you're ready to come down, you release all the way on down. Bring your right knee on in towards your chest. Let yourself just release there for a breath. And then switch legs. Bring the left knee in and stretch, extend that right leg down long. Good, and then bring both knees in towards your chest. And let's separate our knees in towards Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet towards each other. And that doesn't mean you have to actually touch them all the way. It really depends on how you're built in your hips. You can hold your ankles or your shins. You can bring your hands to wrap around the outsides of your feet if that feels really good to you. Or you can keep the feet kind of apart, right? Just let there be a sense of releasing in your low back and your hips. And sometimes it helps to imagine you're reaching your knees away from each other, but reaching your tailbone down towards the ground a little bit, which will take that sense of the back flattening into the floor away, and instead you come into a little bit of natural curve in your low back, and it increases the inner thigh release. Good. One more breath there. And then release to bring your knees back in towards you. Hug them a second in towards your chest. And then bring your feet to the floor for a bridge pose. So bringing your arms down alongside you. And at first, bend your elbows. Let your palms face each other like you're a robot. Start to feel the backs of the arms pressing into the floor, which rises your chest up, and then roll your shoulders under more. And as you press into the backs of the arms and float your hips up into bridge, you may decide, well, I'm not in the right place. You can always come down, and your heels might want to be closer to or farther from your hips before you rise up. Now, once you get up, if you want to stay, if you want to stretch your arms long, you can. You can clasp your hands under you if that feels good for you in your bridge pose. Or you can keep your arms long or bent. The other thing you can do is say, I really would prefer to be on a block. So if you want, you can grab a block. And the block can be any height. If you want to do supported bridge, you can do a block or 2 blocks if you want to get really high. And let yourself just rest with your sacrum, that flat part. You're not hanging off with your bottom at all on the blocks. And then, you kind of have to finagle if you're doing a block to find the comfortable place. And I know a lot of you, when you're up on the block, you want to just stay and relax. I know some of you really love to lift legs up when you're up on those blocks, to where you have your feet up in the air or 1 foot at a time. So, and another thing is you can always play with leg lifts when you're up on a block, which is really fun. Or letting one leg come down long on the floor when you're on the block and releasing in the front of that hip, which is a great hip flexor stretch. So be mindful, move up and down if you want. If you want to come down and try to do a whole upward facing bow pose, a full back bend, more power to you. Go for it, Just play. All right, let it feel good. Remember, in bridge pose, to just feel that you don't have any kind of discomfort in your back. You'll feel your thighs, especially if you're not on a block and you're engaging in it. But you want to feel open both in the front and the back of your body. Take your time, don't wait for me. When you're ready to come down, let your knees come in towards your chest so that you can release your back. And when you are down and your feet can come back to the floor, let yourself widen your feet a little bit on your mat and let your knees come from one side to the other. And now this is the one where if you want to stay on one side and just release there, and I know a lot of you like if you bring your knees to the right, like to pick your right foot up and put it on the outside of your plow pose. If you want to do anything, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a yoga pose. Any kind of movement. Or maybe you're like, really all I want to do is come into Shavasana. I will start to walk around, and as you get ready, I'd love to bring stuff. So if your back is iffy, remember a bolster underneath your knees can help tremendously. You know, you've got the wall there. If anybody wants to turn to lie with their legs up the wall, if that releases your back in a way that is very comfortable for you, you can do that. I can bring blankets for cover. You're welcome. You get your legs up?
Yeah.
Do you want anything under your back, like a little tiny bolster or anything?
Oh, no. I'm
No?
great.
You're good?
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you're cold, cover up. You got all these blankets. So let me know if I can bring you anything at all. Let yourself just kind of wiggle your way into Shavasana. Appreciating how you feel here, how your body feels. And then just starting to receive your breaths and watch them like you would waves. So the wave of the breath coming in and going out. Remember those little spaces, if that helps you to imagine that you're just releasing a little deeper in those little spaces between your breaths. It's almost like you can get lost in the little spaces between your breaths. And of course, the body responds to your breath quieting, and so does your brain. But your brain often wants to keep going back to thinking, so it's okay. Just every time you realize you've come back to thinking, see if you can bring your awareness back to your breath. And give yourself these few minutes to completely and fully relax. feeling yourself there on the ground again physically, and letting your movements start when you're ready, fingers, toes, if you can, and hands and feet when you're ready, arms and legs too. So, bring your knees in if that feels better, if it feels good to stretch, or let yourself just come back to moving the way that feels very easy and comfortable. And you're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side anytime you want. You can stay on your back too, if you're better there. Just come back to feeling the ground underneath you and letting yourself start to let those breaths bring you back. So that when you feel like you're ready to rise up to sitting, it feels kind of easy. So you feel like you can float your way up, but you feel like you could take your time at the same time. Almost like you have all the time in the world, really. And get comfortable in how you're sitting too, so that if it feels better to stretch your legs out, do, or if you want to cross your legs or sit up on a blanket, do. Let your eyes be closed and just enjoy feeling that length upward through the top of your head. Feeling your sitting bones in the ground.